So how do we stay ahead of this obsolescence curve? Well, what is the obsolescence curve? Well, on the screen now is an example of the obsolescence curve. So things are moving essentially in a life cycle here. So we have a green line that shows the old days. But now we have today's world, which is the red curve. We have changing customer expectations. We have new rivals. We have disruptive technologies. So products are emerging, they're growing, and they're hitting that maturity stage much faster. And then they're hitting that decline much faster. So we need to stay ahead of this. This could be looking at education today versus education that was 10 years ago or even last year. How do you stay ahead of this obsolescence curve? Well, we need to get some skills to get you in the door, right? So when you're looking for jobs, what are some general categories? Well, you need to be analytical in this field. You need to possess communication, and you need to be a people person. And if you're not a people person, you need to be able to talk to people because you need to talk to suppliers. You need to negotiate with suppliers. So it's very beneficial to have these skills. So what I want you to do is evaluate yourself. Which skills do you really have? Can you stand in front of a group of 300 people and talk and have them understand you? Are you able to analyze complex data and be analytical about it? If you were to go to lunch with a bunch of people, would you sit there just being quiet the whole time, or would you get there and actually talk with people? So think about it. When you network, you're trying to talk to these people and possibly get a job lead, but they also are evaluating you. So if we have these skills, we need to make sure that we're good. So you want to make sure you have them all. But what are some other skills you need? Well, you need communication and interpersonal skills. The ability to work well within a team. Teamwork is essential, especially in today's day and age. You need analytical and problem-solving skills. If I give you a complex problem, would you be able to solve it? You need some personal ethics and some integrity. This is a purchasing field. You're going to be spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. So you need some integrity and your own ethics. If your ethics don't line up with your company's ethics, you probably should not be working at that company because there's going to be conflict, either inner conflict within you, because maybe let's say you're more an environmental friendly person and your company is not. Well, you're not going to enjoy the job. But let's say the company is environmental and you're not. Well, the company might not have a strong positive feeling about you. Or let's say your company is political and you're of the opposite political spectrum. You have to decide whether your ethics and integrity line up with the company. So you need some leadership potential. Sooner or later, you're going to want to get promoted, and you may become a supervisor, a manager, maybe even an executive one day. And then you'll remember this class, hopefully, and reach out, because we'd love to have you talk. But this leadership potential, we need to know that you can lead a team. And then we need to also make sure that you fit within the corporate culture. Some companies would say you're hired by Facebook. Well, they might have a relaxed atmosphere where you can bring your dog into work. But on the other end of the spectrum, you might be working for a company, let's say IBM, just picking a name out of the hat. And you can't bring your dog. You need to be wearing at least business casual, maybe even a suit and tie to go to work. Which corporate culture do you fit in? And then you need some strategic thinking, because you need to have a strategy. What is your strategy for your life? So you need some chemistry here. This is the likability of students, it says here. Can you walk into a room and have everybody like you? Or you just have that personality where everybody's kind of put off. If you ask some people, they might tell you the truth, but some people might just tell you what you want to hear. It's unfortunate, but ask people, what do they really think of you? You might be in for a shock. You need to be willing to relocate. So if you grew up in a small town and you're not willing to relocate to a larger city, well, your possibilities of advancement or even employment may be severely reduced. But that willingness to relocate is going to be essential. So you also need original and visionary thinking. Can you think of a unique situation that you gave a great option? Or maybe you came up with a vision of where the team should go, where the company should go? We need that kind of thing in supply chain. So we need you to have a little checkbox in all of these. So I want you to do a gap analysis. Think about these. Do you truly possess these skills? And if you don't, well, now you know what to focus on. So this is part of that lifelong learning. So learn what you need to do to advance. If you don't have leadership potential, well, maybe talk to somebody, and maybe, for example, if you go to church, maybe you can take a leadership position within the church, maybe a small leadership position, and then grow from there. Join a nonprofit, see if they can put you in as, let's say, an assistant something, and now you have a little bit of leadership that you can grow. You don't have to dive in and be the director of a nonprofit right away, but you should be able to feel comfortable and advance your skills. So this threat of obsolescence. So we need to avoid being obsolete ourselves. So we need to develop our skills. So the burden is on you to develop these skills. So you must invest in about 10 to 20% of your time in new skills to avoid the obsolescence. For example, what are you doing when you're driving? If you're sitting there just listening to the radio, well, what about perhaps listening to an audiobook on a business topic, or an audiobook that might advance some skills you have, or advance skills that you may not have? I listen to audiobooks in the car, and I vary between business topics and then science fiction. I like science fiction. But those business books that I'm listening to are areas that I'm interested in, and maybe some areas that I don't have the skills that I'd like. So I'm trying to do that personal development. And I have nothing else better to do when I'm driving somewhere. So that's a great time to do it. So some hints to avoid this obsolescence. You need to do this gap analysis. Do your gap analysis on your skills. What skills do you need to develop? What skills do you have? What levels are they? And where do you want them to be? No one is expecting you to have all the skills to become the president of the United States, regardless of your political party and your favorites. No one's expecting you to have that level of, let's say, political skills. But maybe having a little bit of political skills, such as able to influence people, negotiate, talk in front of a crowd, those skills would be valuable. And then you can use your class activities to invest in these needed skills. So if you think about your future courses that you may take and there's teamwork, maybe you want to take on a leadership role because you want to develop your leadership skills. But that's just one aspect. So make this process a lifelong habit. That way you can always be advancing yourself instead of just sitting there, because if you just sit there, your skills are going to be obsolete in roughly 3 to 5 years, maybe even sooner than 3 to 5 years. So we don't want that, and we want you to keep advancing. So let's look at the vision of purchasing. We have a visionary role when we're in purchasing. So let's talk about that in our next video.